imagine world's 7th largest economy changing prime minister every few months. Now which would have seemed unusual just few years back, has become a new normal for France. Now this particular political crisis in the case of France has ripples not only in the Europe or in Paris, it has rippled and it has impact all across the world, including India. Due to this political turmoil, we can say even France-India partnership can also be impacted. So we will try to understand and go into detail that why France government has collapsed again and what can be the possible impact on India as such. Now, to give you the context of this particular topic, recently François Bayrou, who was a prime minister in France belonging from the Central Party's ideology, has demitted office after just 9 months of interval. Now this collapse the government has come after the confidence vote, basically we can say no confidence vote was passed in the parliament, in the National Assembly we can say, that is how parliament, lower house of parliament is called in France, against him. And this overall instability is nothing but an indication of what we can call as deepening crisis not only in the politics of France but also in the economy of France. That means we can say at the core of this entire situation lies the financial crisis and financial trouble. If you try to understand what actually unfolded in the National Assembly of France, so a confidence vote was basically, confidence motion was actually put to vote in the National Assembly of France. In this total assembly, we have total 577 seats. Now out of these 577 members of National Assembly, we have seen 367 members, though they voted against the François, we can say the Prime Minister's proposal to cut the spending, and only 194 people, we can say parliamentarians, voted toward him, and now because voted in favor of him. And that is why we can say, since the government was not able to clear the confidence vote, and that is why the prime minister had to resign as such. This is also something you can consider as nothing but an example of crushing defeat. Also, not only this, we also are seeing large scale abstentions and what you can call as absences in the National Assembly of France. And the most interesting thing is that if you talk about last 20 months of the France, this was the 4th prime minister who had to resign from his office, and obviously the 5th prime minister appointment is imminent. The prime minister of President of France, Emmanuel Macron, is expected to announce his name as soon as possible. Now, if you talk about the current Prime Minister Bayrou, François Bayrou, the warning already was written that he would have to go and leave the office because of his inability to control the crisis, especially economic and financial crisis in France. Basically, when the motion was put on vote in the National Assembly, he has talked about debt and deficit problems, he has talked about the ballooning crisis. And he has said that our goal should be to save at least $51 billion annually. And to ensure that, he has proposed the idea of taking out several austerity measures, and because of this austerity measure was something that were not accepted by the opposition parties and even his own political party members, he had to resign as such. Now also a very interesting thing and a pointer he has tried to put forward in the National Assembly, that the debt domination that France is facing today is equal to loss of liberty. What kind of message actually he was going to give is that the military domination by any foreign power is almost equal to the economic domination by the creditors. However, this message was highly rejected, largely rejected by all the members of the National Assembly, especially opposition parties, and his appeal of austerity measures also was rejected. Now, what was his proposal? If you try to understand, he has put forward few points that he wanted to implement so that France can come back on track and financial crisis can be, its intensity can be minimized. So first was, he has talked about freezing the welfare payment to the people. Second, he also has talked about cutting 2 national holidays. Third, he has talked about that across sector we have to cut and ensure that the spending is minimized. He has also prioritized debt reduction to ensure that the financial well-being of the country. And also, because of all these measures, if you look, will have a huge ramifications and implications on the people, general public of France, and that is why he has to suffer a strong public and political backlash. Now here also we have to look at the opposition reaction. So we know that in the last presidential election, you would have heard about Marine Le Pen, who belonged to the far-right political party in the France, and also at the same time left coalition. Both of them, you can understand, far right as well as the left, are coming together against the centrist Prime Minister Bayrou, and they block the plan because they believe that such kind of measures will be very, very harsh on citizens, and it will not be able to resolve the systemic issues that they believe lies at the core of the financial crisis in the France as such. Now, at the same time, Marine Le Pen has put forward an alternative, because you know that she has always a kind of anti-immigration stance. So she proposed that rather than cutting the welfare benefits to the general population of the France, we should cut cut spending on the immigration. At the same time, left has demanded that we have to protect welfare of the citizens, we have to protect the jobs and employment opportunities of citizens, and that is why austerity measures is not a good idea. Now, before moving further, I would want to bring your attention to the fact that at Legacy IAS Academy, we're going to soon commence our batches, both regular batches as well as weekend batch. Regular batch will start at 22nd of September and 16th of October. Well, weekend batch will start at 4th and 25th of October. In this batch, we ensure that there is a comprehensive coverage of all GS papers, and also we have one-to-one mentorship and doubt solving session. We ensure regular interaction with educators, and to ensure that this interaction is to the maximum extent, we have a strict policy of 40 students per batch, not more than that. Apart from that, we also focus on giving opportunity to students to write mains answer on a daily basis, so that they can improve their answer writing and can write mains examination with full confidence. We also have test series for prelims and mains to ensure that students are able to understand what is their strength and weaknesses, and based on that they can basically plan their strategies. If you want to know more details about this programming feature, you can click the link in the description box, or you can give the call at the number being displayed on the screen. Now, coming back to the Macron, this entire spectacle that we have seen unfolding in last 20 months, where 4 prime ministers have to leave the office, has left Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, weakened, and he already is politically isolated because of his stance on the Ukraine and Gaza diplomacy. It seems that he is spending more of his energy, more of his time on resolving international dispute rather than focusing on the domestic problems as such. And that is why today he enjoys a very limited domestic political capital. He already has accepted the current Prime Minister François Bayrou's resignation, and he has stated that in few days he will announce the name of new Prime Minister. Now, this entire situation also is pointing toward a broader crisis that has unfolded and is expected to continue the France in the future. This, we can say, is nothing but an example of chronic instability, and this is result of the unresolved financial crisis. Also, because of the unresolved financial crisis, we are seeing a large scale strain not only among the citizens of France but also within the political segment of France. We have seen a large scale polarization between the far right parties versus far left parties. The centrist parties, which used to command dominance in the French politics, are basically seem to losing their ground, losing their turf, and also public is getting disillusioned with their performances as such. Now, obviously, since we are talking about the French political disturbances, will it have any kind of impact on India? The answer is absolutely yes. India will have to face political, economic, and even a strategic impact to such extent, because France has been a longest standing and one of the most strongest ally of India, at least in the European Union. So any kind of political instability that comes in the France will weaken entire cohesion between the European Union, as France is the leading power, major power, and also it will cause the French government and politicians to get distracted with the domestic issues, and due to this they will have lesser bandwidth for cooperating with India, especially in the frame of Indo-Pacific cooperation as such. Not only that, also, defense projects that India and France have signed in the recent years, and even before that, it might see a slower momentum going forward, and it can also cause possible delay in the strategic dialogues and investment. As we know that India and France both are members of various different organizations, whether it is the International Solar Alliance, whether it is the G20, BRICS Plus, and all that. So in these kind of areas, basically, we will see a lesser extent of engagement. Now, also because France is a key defense partner, for example, talk about Rafale aircraft, India has procured from France. We have submarine project that we are trying to complete, Scorpion submarine to talk about. So all the kind of this project, basically because of the political instability, may affect the timely decision making. And also, if we try to understand, European Union and India both are trying to enter into trade negotiation. Both actually are undergoing discussing about the trade negotiations. So that can also slow down if France is not properly engaged. This is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share the aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you very much.